I wanted to start with New York. Obviously, it's still pretty fresh for you. You said in the post race press conference you were hoping to stay with the top women until you entered Central Park around 24 miles, I think. And you fell off a little before that, around 20 miles, but the top three all broke the course record. And, you finished fourth. Like, was that close to best case scenario for you, do you think?
It's definitely like hard to look at some of the names on that list and think that you have a shot. But I just wanted to keep putting myself in it for as long as I could out there. And I was happy that the race was playing out more on the honest side, rather than turning into like essentially a 10K or 5K race. I think I do better when it's closer to the full marathon distance that we're racing. So I was happy that that's the way it was going.
Mentally, how do you approach a race like that? Because this was really your first chance to face top tier elite international competition in the marathon. Technically, they're on the same start line at the Olympics, but you drop out pretty early. So when you're going up against Lokedi and Obiri and Shep Karui and Hassan, how do you approach that mentally?
I honestly just tried to go in with an open mind, because I didn't want to, limit myself before I got out there. But at the same time, be somewhat realistic of like, okay, if they start, you know, throwing down 2:15 pace early, I know that that's not a game that I've been prepared for. So I guess just going in with a willingness to adapt on the fly was kind of how I was approaching it.
What'd you learn from racing them in New York?
It was definitely really valuable to race them. I will say training with Vivian Chariot in the lead up was also helpful because she's not intimidated by these women, and she kind of knows a little bit of like, okay, like so and so is unlikely to go early, and you might see, she was just giving me like small pieces of advice about how I might see like surges going into and out of water stations, and that definitely happened, which was interesting. So I guess I definitely saw kind of the way they were working together at points in the race, which was interesting to see. And then also that it is like an ebb and flow. Like there are big moves that get made, but it comes back. So if something feels like too much, it might be something that you can ride out. It might not be the end yet.
Did you go into the race knowing like, hey, I'm really fit, like this is gonna go well? How confident were you when you stepped on the line?
I would say I was fairly confident, but at the same time, you never know how things will play out on race day, and training isn't the same as a race. So I felt good about my chances, but I really didn't. I didn't know completely.
What was your best workout in your build up?
Probably a couple of the long run workouts that we did up in Camas. So it's still like over 6,000 feet up there. And we did one that was 5 by 4 mile that was good, with like standing rest between the reps. That one was definitely a confidence boost. And then we did another that was just kind of a cut down long run on that same road, kind of back and forth, that ended up like the paces just were coming more easily than they had previous long runs for time in the buildup.
Like what paces are you, when you're looking at like marathon pace during this workout, like do you have a number? What are you running them at?
I guess like anything 5:30 effort and under, and then depending on whether you're going up or down the hill, kind of adjusting on either side of that.
And you said can't sorry, where was the workout you did it at 6,000 feet? Is this in around Park City or where was it?
Yeah, so it's just on the other side of Park City, kind of a little bit in the valley, around a town called Camas.
Gotcha.
What did you say? It was 5 by 4 mile?
Yeah.
And like how fast are you running the 4 mile segments? And what's the break?
I think I mean, we definitely got down well under 5:20 pace. But I think we had 3 minutes rest between, so it's decent rest, but by the end you definitely have marathon legs and you're trying to run quick on that.
Amy Craig, obviously won a bronze at the World Championship. Will she tell you stuff like you're fitter than I ever was, or do they try to say stuff like that? Because I mean, you're still kind of new to the marathon.
Yeah. Occasionally they will like throw in a comparison of like, well, when Amy was doing her build up for London or XYZ. Yeah, so that is definitely helpful to have that because sometimes I just don't have context for the workouts. Like I have my build up for Orlando and my build up for Paris, and yeah, that's not a whole lot to go off of.
I remember talking to Alistair the week before New York, and he was saying the marathon, he felt it came quite easy for you. And he was also saying, like, even at the Olympic trials, like, she never really felt the hurt of a marathon. And I was curious, like, do you think that's accurate? Or were there parts in Orlando when you won where you were hurting?
Yeah, I would say I was definitely hurting pretty bad by the end of that. I guess I don't feel like I hit the wall or that the wheels fell off. I feel like I was able to, you know, finish strong there. And maybe that's because it's a flat course and I didn't go until about 16 miles there. I guess I feel like it went smoothly, but yes, I don't think the marathon is painless, even if you execute it really well and it comes naturally.
Good to know. Good to know. I am curious though, like, did you find yourself taking to the marathon kind of training naturally? Was that a difficult transition or did you handle that well?
I do feel like the transition to marathon training went pretty well, especially because when I was running the 10K, I was already doing like fairly decent mileage. So it was just kind of bumping up those long runs some, and then getting to dial back some of the work that I'm not as strong at, like the hitting lactic on the track type of stuff. So it just felt like I was leaning more into my strengths and working on improving those versus on the track. I feel like I'm fighting for every scrap.
The other thing that struck me talking to Alistair was, about your prep, was when you go to Copenhagen and you run the half marathon there, and you're in 68:35, finished in 8th place. But he said the strategy for that one was to close your eyes and swing, and by that was like go out aggressively, like it's okay if you hurt early, and like just try to hang on and tough it out. So, like, what was that experience like for you racing, and how painful were the last few miles for you?
Yeah. I mean, that was objectively not like the smart way to run a half marathon. I think I was right around my road 5K PB, and I think I hit my road 10K PB as well. And then things got kind of ugly from there. So I knew that Sharon was in the race. I knew that she was fit. I wanted to see if I could be close to her, but she was just on another level that day. So it was like, okay, let's just, take a swing, see what we can stick to over the back half of that race. And I feel like it was valuable, definitely in the context of marathon prep, because it was about like handling that feeling over. I mean, I was hurting for quite a bit out there, honestly. Probably like dealing with that feeling for 7-8 miles or so out there. Like, okay, this is what the back part of the marathon might feel like, and can I keep it together when it's hurting like this, basically.
Sharon Lokedi, as you mentioned, was in that race. She finished second, 65 flat, so it was a good day for her. But I found that approach fascinating because I hadn't really heard coaches try this in marathon prep, but I listened to the logic he used and it made sense. I'm like, well, yeah, this actually is a way of practicing a skill that can be pretty important in the marathon because things don't always go perfectly. You might be hurting for a few miles, but you still have a chance to turn in a really solid performance. So when that race finishes, are you thinking the same thing? Are you thinking like, are you happy with the way you held on, or were you like disappointed because you were hurting so much? Like, what was your reflection on that race?
I mean, initially, definitely a little bit disappointed because I do still want to get the most out of myself every time I get on the starting line. So to have a result then that feels like, oh, like I thought I was in better shape than this, and objectively, like I didn't execute a smart race. So it's a little bit of like a conflicting feeling, but at the same time, it was also some good motivation going into that last block of training. 'Cause like, oh, dang, like I kind of wish that race had gone a little bit better. But I know that there's more fitness in there, and also like, okay, like I see the bar that Sharon's setting, and I need to get closer to that by the time New York rolls around.